For today's video, we are going to play. We are going to see if some things that are not traditionally used to stain wood or color wood will, in fact, color wood. This all started as a conversation on the Facebook page. So stay tuned and see what it is we did with all of these sticks. Alright, this is going to be pretty much a non-scientific test, but we're going to have a few ground rules here. All of our things will be tested on these jumbo craft sticks. I buy these by the big box full, so I've always got tons of them around. The reason we're doing this, and I'll have more details in the blog post, a while back before I did the video, or before I posted the video of the little square planter that I use the water-based markers to color, I had asked on Facebook what people thought I had used when I posted the picture. And I noticed a common theme. Although no one guessed the right answer, almost every guess was, boy, I hope you used blank, because I've been wondering if that will work. So after I got several guesses that way, I thought maybe this would make a fun video. So I'm not going to recommend any of these things that we're going to try. Use these at your own risk, most of them. Some of them I know will be fine. Some of them I have no idea what they'll do. I am going to use one thing per stick, per jumbo craft stick. I am going to use a pencil to label what it is. And I'm going to write myself a note. And in 6 months, I'm going to do a blog post and show the after pictures next to the before pictures. So I'll do before pictures today when I do the video, and those will be on the blog post today. Then in 6 months I'll have myself a note to remind myself to do more pictures, and we'll see what they look like after 6 months, because a lot of the things people suggested, I asked on Facebook and I got quite a few suggestions. A lot of them are food-based. I don't know what those are going to do over time. They could rot the wood, they could draw bugs, they could turn nasty. I don't know, but it's going to be fun to find out. So let me get out our first thing we're going to try, and let's get busy. Alright, for our first test we are going to use 3 different alcohol-based markers. I'm going to use a common Sharpie marker, I'm going to use a Bic Market, and I'm going to use a brown EB7 Spectrum Noir marker. Now all of these are alcohol based, so they should work pretty well. So I'm going to write Bic, and Sharpie. So let's see what they look like now and how they work. Now actually that makes a really pretty wood color. I can see that, and of course these markers come in a rainbow of colors. Let's see how this Spectrum Noir works. I can see using these actually. I can see using a marker like this on even an expensive kit. I think it would be fine. And these I expect to hold up reasonably well and be, just fine in 6 months. But that's our first test. Now let's do another one. Our next one, we're going to do 2 different colors. We're going to do nail polish. I've got a blue sparkly one and then kind of a purple, so we're going to put blue polish. Blue end polish. How's that? And purple. It's kind of a purple color. I've used nail polish in the past, and I know it works well. And it also, again, it comes in so many colors. I know from doing my nails that neither of these colors is a super pigmented, dense color. They're both a little bit sheer. And these just happen to be what was on my desk, so that's why I got these recently, so they were out. So those are there, and when they're dry, I'll take photos so we can see how they look. And these two, I'm assuming would be fine over a long haul because I've used nail polish before. So let's find another thing to try. All right, next we've got one. I'm not sure how it's going to work. We've got food coloring, and I'm using yellow in both. I decided I wanted to see if we get more color payoff with the gel. This is a liquid food coloring from the grocery store. This is a gel-based food coloring, also from the grocery store. I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to write this down first. Liquid food color and gel food color. And these I'm going to apply both of them just straight without diluting them with a cotton swab, but I'm going to get that one out with a toothpick. I don't really want to get cotton fibers down in my brand new package of gel food color. Now I love how this looks. It actually looks really nice, but I'm not sure how it's going to hold up. This is one of the ones I think it'll be okay, but I'm not sure. I haven't even opened these yet. I just got them. I got them for a baking project and I haven't had time to do it yet. And yeah, I don't want cotton fibers down in there. That goes on a lot smoother. It's very pretty. So we'll let those dry and then I'll get a photo for the blog. And let's see what else I can find. All right, this step we're going to go into food realm, so I don't know how this is going to work. Somebody wanted to see what mustard and ketchup would do. I don't have regular yellow mustard. I've got spicy brown mustard. So for this, I'm going to put just a drop on my tile, out of the way. Each. These, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know in 6 months if we'll have like nastiness or what we'll have. I have no clue. Okay, let's write ketchup. And get a couple more cotton swabs. Should have brought the whole thing of cotton swabs over here. Alright, ketchup. Does not give a lot of color. I'm going to let it sit there for I'll just let it sit on here and for a few seconds while I get the other one. This one's mustard. Yellow hot dog mustard would probably work better, but we don't have any. I think for these, I'm going to let them sit. I'm going to turn the camera off and let these sit for about 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and wipe them and see how they look. All right, so these have sat now for 10 minutes. So let's see, can we wipe them with a paper towel? Not much color on the mustard. Like I said, maybe yellow mustard would give more. And the ketchup didn't leave much either. I am going to leave these, though, in my test just to see if they discolor over time. There's a little color, just not much. So let's see what else I can find. Okay, I know it looks like time for a break. No, we've got a cup of tea. I left the tea bag in so I could remember which was which, and that'll also make it stronger. And I've got a cup of coffee. So I think for these, I'm actually going to let the stick just sit in there, and I'm going to leave them for, let's say 10 minutes. Let them just kind of steep in there and see what kind of color they get. I'm not sure how this will work. I know I tea dye and fabric dye fabric a lot to make it look older. Not sure how we would go about doing wood, but we'll try it this way and see how it works. So I'll be back in 10 10 minutes. All right, so they've had 10 minutes, and there's a good amount of color there. Let me get a paper towel. Should have done that ahead of time and dry them off. It looks like it's going to be good color. We'll see when they dry. There will be a photo on the blog post of these all dried off. So let's try something else. All right, our next test is going to be wrapping tissue. And this is the stuff from Dollar Tree, so I would think if any of it will run, this will. I'm just going to write red wrap tissue and green. I know that this stuff will stain clothing if you wrap something in it and carry it in the rain. Been there, done that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these around the sticks. Got some binder clips here. And then I'm going to spray with water and soak the wrapping tissue. And then I will let this dry, and we'll take this off when it's dry and see how it looks. So I'm going to spray this really well. Get it really wet. Now I know there's also a product sold to artists called bleeding tissue, and that is designed for the color to come out, which I know that would give some neat effects, but I don't have that. I don't even know where to get that. So let's let that dry, and then we'll take a look. Another suggestion was hair dye. So I bought some hair dye. They had hair dye at Dollar Tree. That thought of dyeing my hair with hair dye from Dollar Tree kind of scares me, but we're going to try it for the wood. And I looked on the directions, and it said to just take a little bit if you want to do the allergy test. So we're going to do it as if we're doing that. So you take that, a dab of each product, about equal parts, mix it together. So we'll do that. Looks like about right. I think I should have gotten, I'll use an extra stick for that. Or I can probably just use it right on here. Okay. Should have labeled that first, but that's okay. So we'll label that hair dye. And this too is going to have to dry. And I'll come back and we can look at this one. In fact, I will come back and we'll look at everything at the end after everything has a chance to dry, I think. But this should be interesting. Let's see what else we can do. All right, so let's try something a little different. Let's try lipstick, and I've got a lip stain too. So this is a random lip color that I had in my drawer. Whoops, let's label these. I almost forgot the labeling part. And lip stain. Not sure what these will do, but only one way to find out, right? Kind of leave that on for a second while I get this one on. Lip stains are kind of cool because they stay on your lips for a long time. So and they go on like a marker. So I'm kind of thinking that could be cool. Let me get a paper towel to wipe off any extra. That actually is kind of neat. And lipsticks and lip stains do come in a lot of colors. And that one's not wiping away much at all. So we'll see what we can find next. Okay, so I had this package of Kool-Aid up in my cabinet, so I thought, that'll be fun. Got grape Kool-Aid, let's label. And I'm actually going to do 2 tests with this. And let's first sprinkle some of this into, what I've done is I've got like a 1/4 cup of really hot water. Yeah, that's the right one. I'm going to do that. And then I thought what I would do is just sprinkle some, because this could be a cool effect on stuff, and then squirt it with some water. Try and do this gently so it doesn't. I think I want this to sit for 10 minutes like we've done our other liquids, so I'm going to go set a timer and I'll be back in 10 minutes my time. Alright, so my timer tells me it's been 10 minutes, so let's get another paper towel. Now this one, I mean it's kind of a funky color. You see the blue and the purple? Let's see what this looks like. Definitely a lighter color, but more true purple when it's been dipped. I think they're both interesting, and I think they both could work for doing things. It's another of those products that I'm not necessarily sure I would recommend it for, you know, something expensive, but maybe if you're doing a project out of cheap wood or craft wood or, you know, craft sticks or something, it might be worth trying. I don't know if you could brush it on. You maybe could. This, I think, could be interesting to sprinkle and then spritz it with the water. That could be really cool looking. So let's go try something else. Alright, next up is Rit Dye, and I'm going to do this the same way I just did the Kool-Aid. I'm going to do it both wet and dry and let it set for 10 minutes. I want to open this really carefully because I don't want it all over my table. And I looked online and it said you could mix up small quantities, and I kind of got the ratio for that. Really hoping I can get that off my measuring spoon. I'm going to try. Let's just sprinkle a little bit in on this. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera, but that water is really hot. Oh, I didn't label that stick. Rit. Dissolved. And whoops. Rit Dry. And that's not staying on there. Maybe if I spritz the wood first. There. And once again, I'm going to let this sit for 10 minutes. Oh, that's getting a nice dark color. And I'll be back in 10 minutes. Alright, so here's our results. The one that we sprinkled on dry, it's not a lot of color. It's got a couple of dots, and then it's got just kind of a light. This blue that we put in the cup, though, that's deep, dark blue. That's really pretty. And I imagine you could probably brush it on too. I don't know for sure. But that could be interesting, and I think I remember seeing on a craft show on TV way, way, way long ago where they actually did some wood furniture where they did Rit Dye to color it. But that makes an interesting color, and that is really solid by soaking it for 10 minutes. So that's an interesting look and an interesting. Now what I did here, I dissolved a ½ teaspoon of Rit Dye powder into a 1/4 cup of really hot water. I had this almost to boiling, so that's the amounts I used here. Let me clean up this mess, because I have a mess, and we'll move on to something else. Alright, so next up is some soy sauce. I thought of this the other day. I thought this might be kind of fun. So again, I'm going to leave this sitting for 10 minutes. That seems to, I'm trying to keep it consistent. That's why I'm using 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave this for 10 minutes and then I'll be back. Alright, I think it's been 10 minutes. I kind of forgot to set the timer. So, but this, it's colored a little bit, not as much as I actually expected. I expected a little bit darker of a color. Since this is a food product, I don't know what long-term effects will be. But it was fun to do, and now my office smells like soy sauce, which is kind of cool. Okay, let me go set up for another test. All right, this one I debated whether I should do it or not. One of the suggestions was grape juice, but we never have grape juice in our house because no one will drink grape juice in our house for some reason. But I had red wine, and I thought red wine really stains fabric. As we know, that may or may not mean anything when it comes to the wood. But I decided to give this a shot. Now, this is just some cheap red wine that I had. Mainly this one is for cooking. It's the end of a bottle, so it's been sitting there for a while. So, once again, 10 minutes, and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, the first thing I noticed when I walked up was how much this had wicked up above the level of the wine. I don't know, truthfully, if having the alcohol content of the red wine would make it different than grape juice. I have no idea in any respect if that would change it. This does make a really pretty color though, and for some things this could be really cool. Being a food product, I wouldn't use it on something that was really precious to you, but you know, maybe for a craft stick project it might be kind of a fun thing to try. Go ahead and try some grape juice too. Let me gather everything we've done, all my sticks together, and we'll take one last look at all of them before we go. Alright, so here are all the sticks we did. That's quite a few. We've done quite a few things here. So I'm going to look at these in kind of a random order. I'm going to try and keep them together by type. So I'm trying to find the other marker. There we go. So here's our 3 alcohol markers. We have our Spectrum Noir, our Bic Market, and our Sharpie. They're all alcohol-based markers. I have the Spectrum Noir markers. I treated myself to the entire collection last year for my birthday. I love them. I use them in my scrapbooking. I use them in my art journals, and I use them in making cards. I love them. But to be able to bring them into other types of crafts, I'm really excited about that possibility. I stuck with all browns for these. They come in a rainbow of colors. Sharpies are pretty easy to come by, and they also come in a huge number of colors. Watch the back to school sales next summer, and they usually come on really cheap. I usually stock up then. Big markets, at least where I live, are a little harder to find, but I think they're a better quality than the Sharpies. Personally, I think they work better for me anyway, and they do blend. You can blend them not as well as the expensive artist type, the crafter or whatever type markers, but they will blend a little bit. So that's those. Tea. Can I find a coffee? I should have, there's coffee. Okay, should have gotten these in some kind of order instead of just grabbing the pile. Coffee and tea. I expected more from these. I expected more color than we got. But I do have an idea for how to use these, so be sure and check the blog post. I've just got done writing that portion of it while I was waiting for things to sit and dry. So be sure and check that. I've got some cool ideas in there. Let's see what we got. Kool-Aid. Here's Kool-Aid. Here's both the Kool-Aids. Alright, the Kool-Aids. Here's the dissolved Kool-Aid, where you get a nice fairly even color. And here's the one where it was powdered, and I just sprinkled it on and got it wet. This again, I have some ideas for how to use this if it holds up and stays true to color. That's something I'm really interested in on several of these. So in 6 months, I'm going to try and do a blog post follow-up on these. But they turned out really cool. This is a really nice washed out color. This could be really neat for a lot of things. Let's see. Here's the red wine. That was only one of those. I like how this got more even after it dried. And it's very much a purple, but a really pretty color. This too, if it holds up over time, I think could be a really interesting product to use. Now here are our real failures. The wrapping tissue. I know for a fact I stained a light colored t-shirt with this red one a while back because I had wrapped a gift and it was raining because we live in Oregon, and I got red off of the wrapping tissue, so I really thought that was going to color the wood at least a little bit, and there's no color. So, okay, Rit dye. Rit dye worked really well. The the color where it was submerged in the color is a really rich, dark color. The other one is a wash look, and I really like both effects. They both look really nice, and I think these could be really useful, although I think dollar for dollar, I think this would be kind of expensive, but a lot of times if I'm dyeing something, I have leftover dye. So for that reason, they could be a good way to use up leftover dye. Let's turn these over so I can find what I've got. Okay, nail polish. I use nail polish a lot. I've done at least 1 or 2 videos where I've used nail polish on wood projects. I usually undercoat with a light colored acrylic paint under them because, as you can see, these are both pretty sheer. The cool thing about nail polish, they comes in every color you can imagine and then some. They come in matte, they come in shiny, they come in extra glossy, they come in sparkly, they come in glitter, they come in marble, they come in crackle. All kinds of finishes, all kinds of colors. And if you're like me, I'm kind of addicted to nail polish. I've just got clear on today, but I have a huge box of nail polish. I'll buy like this really cool blue. I love the blue. I'll use it 2, 3, 4 times. My daughter-in-law might use it once or twice. And then it'll get shoved in the back of the box and never see the light of day again until I go through once a year and throw away the stuff that's all clumpy and yucky. If I could remember to use it on my miniature projects, that would use up a lot more of it, and that would be cool. So that was a good thing to do. All right, food color. The gel food color and the liquid food color both give really good color. I'm anxious to see what they look like in 6 months. If they stay true, this is something most of us have in the kitchen. So if you needed to grab something and do a quick color on something, if it stays true to color, this could be a real viable idea for an emergency backup for coloring. Lipstick and lip stain. I love these. They turned out really neat. I think they could both be really useful. Again, they come in all different colors, and you can even get lipstick at the dollar store. And how many of us have bought a lipstick, thought it was going to be great, got it home, put it on, and thought, what was I thinking? Well, maybe we can use it on our crafting if this stays looking nice. Another surprise for me was the ketchup and mustard. Ketchup, I mean, you can, if I turn it a certain way, I can see the top edge of where it was. Mustard, a little color, but not very attractive. I thought these were going to give more color. I want to see in 6 months, though, how they look if they discolor the wood long term. That could be interesting. Soy sauce is another one. I really expected more color from it. It's funny, when it first got dry, when it was first done and wet, it was pretty dark. It had a nice color. When it first got dried, it soaked in and looked much more pale. Now that it has sat for probably 15-20 minutes, or more than that, probably a half hour since I did this, maybe an hour, it's kind of come to an interesting color, and this could be interesting. This could be useful if you have, if you're desperate. Lastly, to talk about here, the hair dye from Dollar Tree. The idea of buying hair dye at Dollar Tree terrifies me. I don't know why, but it does. But it made a cool wood color. And it comes in pretty natural looking colors for the most part. I think if this holds up, I'm going to experiment with this one too. And I know a lot of times when I color my hair, because I do color my hair, I'll have leftover. So if I was in the middle of a project, if I timed the hair coloring with my working on something right, I could use some of those leftovers and color some wood with it. So that could be interesting. So we'll just see how it looks. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to film. Let me know if you enjoyed it and want to see more of these testing videos where I test things. It's totally non-scientific. It's for fun. We learn some things and we get to play. If you do some experiments, let me hear about it. If you try some of these things on projects, let me know how it worked. like I said, 6 months from now, I'll do a follow-up blog, and I'll have side-by-side pictures, the pictures I take today and pictures I take then, and we can see how these look. In the meantime, have fun with your minis. Find us on Facebook, because that's where this one all started. You never know what we'll talk about there. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.